Zane Smith signs a full-time Cup ride with Front Row Motorsports, solidifying that they will have 3 young drivers in 2025. How will that look? Let's break it all down. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host, Alex Lambert, and we have some news going into this new NASCAR Cup season. Once again, we are 45 days away to the 2025 NASCAR season, the Daytona 500, the biggest race of the season. Really looking forward to that. But we do have some news about some driver lineups. Zane Smith will be driving the 38 Ford for Front Row Motorsports in 2025. Obviously, big news there. Front Row has a very young driver lineup, and they continue to add to it with now 3 charters. We'll break that down a little bit. Once again, Mike Wallace will be attempting to run the Daytona 500 with NBM Motorsports this season. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about the Clash at the Coliseum having a new sponsor for this season. Or I guess it's the Clash at the stadium now, at Bowman-Gray Stadium, not at the Coliseum anymore. So certainly that is exciting. We'll take a look into all those things. Let's start out with Front Row, right? Zane Smith signing a contract for Front Row Motorsports through the 2025 NASCAR Cup season. Really excited to see this. Zane Smith's one of those young drivers, one of those young prospects that we've been watching for quite some time, that we sort of knew or at least wanted to get to the Cup Series, right? He's shown a lot of speed and talent in the Xfinity Series, started in the Truck Series a few years before that. So this is a driver I'm excited to see what he can do in Cup. You know, Cup is such a jump, right, from trucks to Xfinity to the Cup Series is such a jump. Obviously drove the 71 machine last year and did a fairly good job. You know, I didn't see him involved in many crashes, didn't follow him too heavily because, you know, he wasn't up front that much, but it's hard to do so in that equipment. But I'm excited to see what Zane Smith can do. I think this is a driver that has talent, has the ability, and has the mindset where he can succeed in the NASCAR Cup Series. In Front Row, we know they're putting an effort to be better, right? They won the 2021 Daytona 500, have made the playoffs with the new car with Michael McDowell. But losing Michael McDowell sort of loses that big experienced driver, right? He was on the older side. He'd been in the Cup Series for more than 10 years. A lot of experience with Michael McDowell. He has moved over to Spire Motorsports. So you lost that driver, and you now put Todd Gilliland in that 34 car to be the premier driver of this team, right? If I look at the driver lineup, Todd Gilliland, Zane Smith, Noah Gragson, I look at Todd Gilliland as the top driver, and I'm a little concerned, right? Because there's just so little experience in the Cup Series. Now, I'm not worried about Todd Gilliland, you know, his mindset. I think after how we saw him handle the 2023 and 2024 season with this team, I think this is the perfect driver for them to you know, be in the lineup. I think these are drivers that have the mindset themselves to be successful. The problem for me is you know, how long will this take with so little experience? I like teams that have, you know, a couple of young drivers and then have that experience to really excel those young drivers. Right now, Front Row looks to be lacking that, but it'll be interesting to see, you know, how will the results play out in this 2025 NASCAR season. But I look at Todd Gilliland as that top guy. Zane Smith obviously going to add to that as a young driver, and then Noah Gragson as well with a couple years of experience going to try to add to that too. When I look at Front Row, here's what I think. I think it's going to be a little bit of some growing pains, right? But you have, I think, 3 young, very talented NASCAR drivers. I think you have a team that is putting in the resources, putting in the time, effort, and money to be successful. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of a step down from Front Row. Maybe doesn't quite get the results this season, but it slowly goes uphill from there, right? And I look at 2026, 2027, and beyond, could start seeing some more success and potentially winning from this Front Row teams. That should be very exciting to see going into 2025. Just very quick, Mike Wallace will be driving in the Daytona 500. This was announced today. He will make an attempt to run the Daytona 500 in the number 66 car for NBM Motorsports. Obviously, that's exciting for him. Going to try to make the Great American Race a big event there for him. The Daytona 500, once again, 45 days away. And then, of course, he'll have to go through qualifying, through the duels. That should be exciting. Another storyline to watch, another open car to watch entering this 2025 Daytona 500, which I think would be exciting, right? The more open cars adds a little bit more drama for the fans. I don't think the drivers and teams like that as much, but for the fans, I think they enjoy that when you have drivers that could miss the race going into speed weeks, right? So certainly that's something to look forward to. The Clash at Bowman-Gray Stadium, which is scheduled to be on February the 2nd on a Sunday night. I believe they said the race would be at 8 o'clock. We have practice will be before that on February the 1st, along with some other races as well. Cookout is the new sponsor for that. That's obviously exciting to see, right? You know, obviously when it was in Los Angeles, it was called the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum for those 3 seasons. And then once again, Busch is still a huge sponsor for NASCAR, so certainly exciting to see what they bring to the table for 2025. But this is big, right? This is pretty exciting, right? It looks like a pretty cool. They have a cool little die-cast car. I'm sure they'll be selling at the racetrack on Sunday in Winston-Salem. This is an event that's sort of big. I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs watching this. It's on Big Fox, so obviously Cookout wanted to put some sponsorship in and get a big deal out of that. And let's we talk a lot about NASCAR sponsors. We talk about Geico, Coca-Cola. They have the Coca-Cola 600. Busch Light is obviously a huge one in the NASCAR industry. Xfinity is big, right, with the Xfinity series. You see their signs all over the racetrack. But one that we don't really talk about as much is Cookout, and this could be because they're not regional or countrywide yet. But you see a lot of Cookout signs at the racetrack, around the racing facilities, on the racetrack, on TV. I think the Martinsville race last year was the Cookout 400. I think the Richmond race was the Cookout 400. I believe they still have the Cookout Southern 500, which is a big deal, right? One of the crown jewel events. So Cookout's put a lot of money and time into NASCAR. So I want to, briefly just kind of appreciate that. That's certainly something that we've seen from them. But that's really all there is to dissect today. Wanted to make this sort of a quick early season episode. Once again, we'll kind of go through the entire 2025 driver lineup, and there's a lot of changes in a few weeks before the season when everything gets finalized. But once again, Front Row Motorsports with Zane Smith, that's exciting. Could see some success out of them moving forward. And then, of course, Mike Wallace driving in Daytona, and then the Clash of Bowman-Gray getting new sponsorship is exciting as well. But once again, we'll do some more Dirty Air off-season episodes. Hopefully some more news comes out to discuss. There's a lot of things we're watching right now as we get closer. Once again, 45 days away from that Daytona 500. So obviously very exciting time for fans right now. That's it. All there is to talk about. And of course, about this new announcement. Let's get rowdy.